Okay, I just wanted to give you something else to consider. The unrepentant atheist. Um, so, since you're um, discussing the topic of death, uh, I made this comment on your channel, as you've probably already saw. But I just wanted to uh, turn your attention to this idea of death, since uh, seems to be something you're interested in. Um, if I hadn't been born, there wouldn't be a black void right now. I wouldn't be in peaceful oblivion. The only experiences there be are the ones being caused by all of the living brains. So indeed, there will be experience after we die, but it will be occurring via other means. And so the very same thing is what caused this experience. A brain was born, and then this experience began. It was simply the event of a brain coming to exist that is responsible for the consciousness that's reading this right now. And so, if brains will exist after this one dies, then there will clearly be conscious experience after this brain, the one doing the consciousness that's reading this right now, dies. It will not be the dead person going into a new body. No. It's simply that experience will continue to be done by other living, functioning brains. It might be helpful to imagine a universe that's completely devoid of life. But then one comes into existence. You can imagine this brain to be you or some other brain. Either way, the eye sensation is occurring via a brain. If experience exists anywhere via a brain or even via an AI, then it's what's being experienced rather than nothing. If experience exists, then it's what's being experienced rather than nothing. You have to see yourself as just another brain, which is just another cluster of atoms in a sea of other atoms, some which have coalesced and began to do consciousness. And there are many such clusters doing consciousness in the sea of atoms, the universe. So it's just different parts of this thing we call the cosmos doing consciousness. You can imagine it this way. Imagine your body was able to have consciousness arise in other locations other than your brain. The eye sensation can pop up in the knee, then the elbow, then a hand, then the other hand. It's just different parts of a whole doing consciousness. So just imagine, like, it's just consciousness arising in different locations of your body. Just like, the same way it is being done by your brain, just imagine it being done by your hand or something. But each time, it's just the the uh, uh, the generic sense of experience occurring. If you could strip away all of your memories and stuff, uh, and imagine what that would be like. That sensation being done by your brain. Now imagine, so it doesn't have any memory of where it's at or anything like that. But then imagine that sensation separately occurring in your hand, and it just arises in these different locations in your body. Anyways, then a hand, it's just different parts of a whole doing consciousness. But in the case of the universe, that whole is, and then I say, perhaps you would like to watch a zoom out of the universe, perhaps on YouTube. Kind of like in the movie Contact with Jodie Foster. At the beginning, they have the zoom out and stuff. But just imagine that zoom out doesn't end. and you just get to this point where the universe appears to be just this mass of, just like you've probably seen the photos of this like purplish mass with like points of light throughout it and stuff, which are galaxies, clusters of galaxies and stuff. So just imagine, the Earth is one location where consciousness has arisen in all these different locations on the Earth, which we call brains. Each animal brain, each person brain, each, whatever else. And so you have all these locations throughout the universe. Most likely there's probably life elsewhere in this universe, because, well, let's face it, it's big. And so yeah, that's one way to look at it. As long as there's experience anywhere, then there will, even if I die, but then there's still other brains doing consciousness, and it won't be me at all. It's just that brains do consciousness, just like, anyways, I feel like I'm, maybe saying too much, which, so, yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. It is referred to as generic subjective continuity, which, it's a good name for it, I think so, but it was coined by philosopher Tom Clark in his essay, Death, Nothingness, and Subjectivity. But some people don't like that term, or that, so, I just try to explain it the way that I explain it, and Tom explains it in his way, using a thought experiment where there's a transformation of a person with some kind of futuristic technology, but it transforms from a person changed into perhaps some other kind of thing that's no longer a person, that's no longer could be considered the person that originally existed, yet there's a continuity of consciousness, so you consider the person that originally existed as dead, but yet there was a continuation of consciousness, which, using this thought experiment as he does, it sets, it kind of creates a guide for how he wants you to think about continuity of consciousness, despite one thing ending. There's still this persistence of experience. But anyways, so you might want to check that out. But I do it differently, because I ask people just to realize that as long as there's experience, that it's what's being experienced rather than a black void. Because for there to be, quote, nothing after death, or some call it nothingness, or eternal oblivion, and all this silence and all that idea, emptiness or whatever, would require someone there, a consciousness, to be there in that peaceful oblivion, or whatever you want to call it, a black void. For there to be a persisting thing, even if it's the persistence of emptiness or nothingness, then that would require something there to kind of observe said emptiness, or else it doesn't even make sense to refer to anything to call it emptiness or nothingness or nothing. There's just, when you die, you cease to exist. this brain dies and stops doing consciousness. But other brains are still performing what is necessary to create consciousness in the universe. Anyways, perhaps I said too much, and you might just want to read my comment here and maybe watch my other videos on this topic, but I feel like what I've commented here will be sufficient. Thanks for watching.